The keynote? Yeah, the keynote usually does. Do we have people? Not yet. Okay. Make sure you have enough battery life here.
You got it plugged in, don't you? We'll tell by the glaze in their eyes if we're taking too long. Hey there.
They're gonna be riveted.
Come on down.
They're riveted. We got, so if you need to draw anything.
Okay.
Yeah, Jason. Colin, nice to meet you too.
Come on in, have a seat.
Actually, we have to put those chairs back in. When should we get, what time is it here?
Let's see, 103. Yeah, we'll kind of take a look and see if there's anyone else wandering down the halls. There's still a couple people wandering. They started lunch late, so. So were you in the six-figure flipper course then, or?
Actually, no. He's just he helps coach my real estate business.
Oh, okay. Cool. So you kind of get access to some of those materials and.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, the six-figure flipper group.
Okay.
But also like whenever he does like a good podcast or something.
Is there
that he feels
Susan
like
Parker?
I could benefit from.
Susan
Gotcha.
Parker?
So I was talking to him about.
No, Susan? Good to go.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta watch his video.
Okay.
This guy. That's when I saw you. I was like.
Okay. He looks familiar. Cool. We can chat one-on-one if you want after.
Yeah, that'd be great actually. Yeah.
All right. I think we're might as well get started. Everyone can trickle in as we're going, but coming in for money talks.
One more up here in the very front.
Live life in the front row. All right, I'm gonna. They can come in. It's a little loud out there. Can everyone hear us okay for a little bit of an echo? All right.
We're loud talkers.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming to talk about the One Life's financial ABCs, kind of the fundamentals of personal finance. I'm Tyler, and this is my father and partner Byron. And as we go, please interrupt us with questions while they're fresh in your mind. We love answering questions. So essentially, when it comes to finance ABCs, it's as simple as A, your income, minus B, your expenses, leaves you C, left, which is what you have left over to hopefully invest, or if you've gotten into debt, which we're going to discuss a little later on why you need to get out as fast as possible. But that C will help you pay off those debts, and it's important to have as much of that left over as possible.
Oh, wait, Tyler, why don't you back up a little bit?
Okay.
Just get touch basis on everything we're going to cover.
Okay.
Just so they get a flavor for what's coming down the pipe.
Yeah,
Some
definitely.
areas it's more important to some of you than others, so we'll try to touch basis on what is piquing your guys' interest too.
Yeah, so we'll start off kind of touching on bases on increasing your income, different ways you can do that and ideas for that. And then the biggest focus is going to be on the defensive side of things. And that's going to be the importance of getting out of debt and how much debt actually does cost you. And then how to make a budget. And then the importance of investing early is what we'll go on to after we kind of cover those defensive things. And then creating how to create a plan, a sprint plan and then a marathon plan. We'll go over kind of what those are a little later, kind of your net worth growth plan. And
at the end, we finish with he has a little retirement calculator, which is all on everybody's Excel spreadsheets. So you can it's super easy to use. You can just plug in your own numbers and it'll tell you, when you're going to be eating dog food or not eating dog food. So it's a real good plan on how to figure out when you're going to run out of money so you can make changes as early as possible. And we'll show you how little differences, making 2% more income makes a huge difference for you. So it's good stuff.
so offense. I'll let you. Yes, go for it.
I was torn between a couple different groups. I might bounce back and forth.
That's fine.
I just
That's
don't
fine.
want you to think that I'm not interested.
No problem.
I figure you have weak bladder. I have Tourette's too, so I say a lot of inappropriate things. If you get offended, I apologize.
So one of the first things you can do is, you have to make enough money to be able to put money away. And so if you've got a fixed income job, it's not always easy. You can hope and ask for a raise and get that eventually, but you gotta, if you're feeling stuck and like you need to bust out the log jam, you might want to think about doing some sort of side hustle. So maybe sign up to be an Uber driver, eBay flipping. So garage sale. Find out what items are for sale on eBay. Go buy them at a garage for $5 and sell them for $20. And then increasing your skills. Did you want to talk about increasing your skills?
There's different people all here. There's people here, and some of them make $30,000 a year. Some of them make $50,000 a year. Some make $70,000. Some make $100,000. Some make $200,000 or $300,000 a year. And they're all on a plan. They're all on a model. So I always say a lot of what model do you want to be on? And when we say increasing your skills, part of coming to this is part of that. But why does a guy make $100,000, one guy make $50,000? And so really you have to study the guy that's making $100,000 to figure out what does he do differently. But really set yourself up as a lifelong learner. I do a book on tape every month, and I would set that up just to say, what do I need to study? You become what you study. What you focus on, you become. So if you want to make more money, study money. And then this is just one step in that. But the example I have on my ragamuffin, how many people are self-employed? Okay, quite a few of you. Well, you want to learn your business. My wife has a children's clothing store. And one of the things we did with the children's clothing store, it was struggling a little bit. I was trying to make it better, always trying to make it better. But one of the things we did is compare myself to industry averages. And we found out in my wife's business, she was having a gross profit of, say, 35%. The average gross profit was 44%. And what that did was two things. One, we cut our inventory down, which immediately put $50,000 in our pocket because we had less stuff on the shelf. And by less stuff on the shelf, we were discounting less. So you want to learn in your own business how to become effective in your own business, and that can, forget doing the Uber if you can just do that. That made, for my wife's business, it made a $45,000 a year net income by reducing our inventory by $50,000. So not only did we have the $50,000 in our pocket, we had $45,000 of extra income. So one of the things I would recommend if you're self-employed is look at industry averages to see, and that's just to get to average. We want to be better than average, right? So sharpen your saw on your business. Study people get a mentor in your own business that's doing better than you are, and just listen to them. So that's when we talk about getting your skills improved and how to do that. Right up front, man. Right up front. You can sit over here back there.
You're welcome to be back there if you'd like. I'll let you take over the deck.
Okay. One of the things we talk about, how many people have read Dave Ramsey? Phenomenal. If you haven't read that book and you have any debt at all, buy the book. It's phenomenal. But he talks about the poison of debt. And that's one of the things you almost have to get out of debt because, and I'm going to talk in a little bit on how much a credit card can cost you. But one of the main goals you should have, you come on in if you want. One of the main goals you want to have is to be out of debt because people have said that just think how much you could afford to live on if you didn't have any car payments or didn't have any debt payments. So once you can get to that, then take that money. We're going to go in a little bit over the snowball method, which is Dave Ramsey's tool on how to get out of debt. Let me see if that's next. Okay. And I want to first off touch on how much debt cost you. Now this is a trip I took for my 25th anniversary. Was that our 25th?
Yeah.
That's where you guys paid for our flight. So, but we spent $8,100 on a trip to Hawaii. And let me tell you, Hawaii gets a lot more expensive when your kids are all drinking age. Okay? But round to Mai Tais is $100, So $8,100 and paid with credit card instead of cash, instead of invested. If you do that at age 25, it'll cost you $381 a month for the rest of your life in retirement. Just one trip to Hawaii. So that $381 for if you're going to live for 25 years after retirement is $114,000. And if and that's at 6% interest. If you charge that trip to Hawaii and pay 24%, that trip would cost you $457,000 for a trip to Hawaii at age 25. That's a lot of my times, right? So that's just the poison of debt, the snowballing of everything like that. Because the minimum payment on that trip, you wouldn't pay it off for 25 years. There's a book you ought to read called The Millionaire Next Door, and it talks about people's misconceptions of millionaires. Everybody thinks millionaires are people that drive the Maseratis, and they're just people that can have a big car payment. They can afford a car payment. But 50% of millionaires drive used cars. They never buy a new car. Your average guy, the millionaire usually is a cheap date. When they go out to dinner, it's not at the fancy restaurants. They have people over for dinner and play cards or socialize. And they actually talk to each other, not with a phone in their face. But millionaires are usually pretty cheap dates. My buddy Tim Rhodes, one of my best friends, probably my best friend, he's always saying defense wins championships, which we talk about here. And you want to make it so that, and I had one guy, we were talking at the gym one time, and a guy popped up. It's not how much you make, it's what you do with it. And that's what's really, I'm a CPA by trade. So I deal with a lot of different people. I deal with some really wealthy people, and I deal with some not so wealthy people. Okay? I've had little old ladies come in, and they only made $25,000 or $30,000 a year, but they got $500,000 to invest. And then I have people come in. I had one guy that was he's world famous as a client, and he's broke. Because he, when he moved into town, came into town, he had to have a limo drive him instead of renting a $25 car because of who he was. So you really want to, the amount of money you make is irrelevant. Has anybody played the book Cash Flow 101 with Kiyosaki's book? That's a great book to have because it's a board game that teaches you how to become wealthy. It costs you'll buy the book for $100. I used to have Cash Flow 101 games, but they really talk about the poison of debt and getting out of debt. Let me get back to the subject. Give me a tangent alert when I'm talking. Okay, but getting a new car versus a used car is like driving your car when we can throw a $100 bill out the window. Okay, so used cars, you can save a ton of money on that just with your plan alone. Okay, we talked about the trip to Hawaii. Here's just $100. If anybody wants, my cards are up here, and if you want to, we'll send you the slides if you want to. Or if you want afterwards, you can come up and take pictures of all of them too. Or you can take them as we do. It's okay too. But at age 25, $100 not invested once will cost you $5 a month. So that can be significant. That's every single week you own it. So this is one of the reasons why a third of people, if you look at the statistics, only a third of the people only have Social Security when they retire. And you get like $2,000 a month for Social Security, which for some people that's good. but it's not that much. Social Security was meant to be a supplement. It never was meant to be your total retirement plan. Let me touch just a small bit on this. For people that are married, if you'll do this, you'll make an extra $100,000 in your Social Security over your life. You have the highest earning spouse doesn't take Social Security until there's the maximum age, 70. The lower earning spouse takes it the first day they can. And by doing this, since when one dies, the lower earning spouse gets the higher person's Social Security. So they say you'll increase your Social Security payouts by $100,000 over your lifetime. So the lower earning one takes it early. And if you're self-employed, this is a good strategy to look at your Social Security earnings and plot it out to maximize your Social Security. So,
Bless you.
but yeah, a third of the people only have no savings, and I think it's another third have less than $50,000. So we have our can of prime cuts there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, if you have debt, if you have questions, feel free to raise them and interrupt. We like questions. But if you have debt, we really want to make sure just a real commitment to getting out of debt. And if you have any debt at all, my first recommendation would be go get the Ramsey book, Total Money Makeover. It's a phenomenal book. He's pretty interesting to listen to. I do books on tape instead of reading them, but just more efficient with my time, and I don't like to read that much because I read for a living. So. But anyway, what you do for the snowball method, what you do is you list all your debts, and you list all your debts, you arrange them from smallest to largest, and then you pay the minimum payment on every debt except for your first debt, and then you pay as much. Well, what they want you to do is have emotional success. And that's why a lot of people want to pay the highest interest rate first. Ramsey wants you to pay the lowest payment, the lowest balance first. That way when you have success, you can celebrate, and that's just good emotional energy to get rid of all that debt. Once you pay it off, you then take that, let's say you're paying $100 a month on your smallest amount, you then add that 100 to the payment on the second item, and you double up on that. Once you get that one paid off, you add it to the third item, and you can see why they call it a snowball, because it gets bigger and bigger. And then here's the key though, once you get it all paid off, that snowball becomes your investment pot. Don't just change your habits all of a sudden and start living larger. Take that money and put it into your wealth plan. Does that make sense?
And if you have a couple debts that are similar in, maybe $100 apart or just real close, pay off that highest interest one first. So, the philosophy is having the smallest ones first is to get that emotional success. But if you look at the numbers of if you've got a 15% credit card versus a 6% student loan, and they're pretty close in balance, you're going to cost yourself a lot of money by paying off that 6% loan first, even though it's only $200 less of a balance. So kind of when you're looking at that list, be smart about making your plan of attack. Don't just blindly take the smallest one first just because. Yeah.
I heard you mention apply the future payments or the loss or the accomplished payments to your savings plan. What do you guys recommend?
Once you're out of debt.
Right. But what do you recommend currently as far as savings plans? You
Well,
trust the stock market or?
We have a little segment on that at the end.
Yeah, we'll get to
A little bit.
Yeah,
Over that.
good question, yeah.
Okay. So, and one of the things you want to do is form yourself an accountability group. Question?
When you're talking about the interest rates, and what about, I have one card that has an annual fee kind of added to the interest rate for having it. And I wanted to get out of that, but I didn't want to close down that account and that card after I paid it off if it's going to impact my credit report.
Paying it off will impact your credit report. Actually, the more debt you have, the more better credit score you have.
Right, but what about, I just wanted to get rid of that account.
Ramsey says all
Don't
that.
close that account.
Well, it depends. If you're
But
not planning on
they'll
borrowing,
continue to charge me, they will continue to charge me a, I don't know,
Well,
call it a registration fee or a.
So
for having,
the decision filter on that is, what is the impact of my credit score going to be by closing down that account? And are you planning on borrowing something significant where you might need a better credit score? So if you're going to buy a house that's $300,000 and closing down that card will drop your credit score to a point where you get an extra 0.5% of interest on that loan, you're going to pay way more in interest on the life of that loan than you would that little bit of annual fee. If you're not planning on borrowing anytime in the near future, then I'd probably consider closing the card, and then eventually your credit score will build up or get it.
Ramsey says no debt whatsoever, no matter what.
if I just continue to pay the annual fee and not carry a balance on the card and
It's worth it.
it's worth it? Okay.
I can help you later with that. I'm a credit specialist.
Hand me your card afterwards, because somebody asked me for somebody.
We got the loan shark in the back.
One of the things, the easiest way to raise your credit score is just call your credit card companies, ask them for an increase in your credit cards. Because they look at for your credit score, it's total debt you have divided by your availability. So if they raise each one of your cards up by $5,000, it just increases your credit score just from that alone.
Okay.
There's a science to that though. You don't want inquiries, so you got to time it. You do it with all your cards at the same time, so that way it's all one under one profile. But I can help you out. I know credit.
Very cool.
Super. So with this, but you pay them down, you pay them down, you pay them down, and the key is pay the debt off and just make a commitment to never do it again. Now, I violate this a little bit because I always finance my cars because I just find the 0% irresistible. I can't help myself, you know? I can always earn more on that.
Obviously, isn't under the Ramsey method too, like you're only, in the future, if you pay off your house, what's the plan for buying income properties?
Well, for Ramsey,
I'm pretty sure he's against that, right? But
Yeah, he says cash, but I mean, I think it's a one. Not every, the whole Dave Ramsey method sells a lot of books, and it's a lot of really good information for most people. But there's a lot of, if you're a more sophisticated investor or high income earner, you might, I think it's okay to borrow for an income earning property and leverage that out.
I like the Richard Kiyosaki approach. He said only borrow for things that appreciate money.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
I'm a believer in that. Okay. Gonna move on here. So on debt, he says get out of debt. It's like playing with a poisonous snake. You just don't do it. And like as far
Consumer debt is terrible.
So basically, we said once your first debt's paid off, add it to the second. Continue until you're debt free. I was pretty happy because when we started this conference 7 or 8 years ago, and I helped Tim found it, and I did the first class. It was in Portola, and a lady came to our seminar, and she went through the whole program, and 3 years later she was out of debt. And it was so emotionally rewarding. One of my core values, I want to make a difference, and it was so nice to have her come up and thank me for helping her get out of debt. It was really nice. So it will make you a lot less emotionally damaged when you don't have all that debt. You'll feel good about yourself, which is important. But continue till you're debt free. It's just credit card, and then people want to talk about getting credit cards for your kids, and you're just playing with poison. It's be real careful about that.
Isn't that called being an enabler?
Yeah, that's right. So as Byron mentioned earlier, and if you talk to Tim or any of the wealthy guys in here, defense wins championships. And so it's important to live and learn to live on a monthly budget. Almost no one does an actual budget. They make their decision based on what's in their account when they look on their phone. And it's more important to actually, take monthly, figure out everything that you have, and do what's called a zero-based budget. And that is where you name every dollar that comes in. Every dollar has a job. And think about it in terms of if you ran a company, and you ran a 100-person company, and every person at that company got to pick what they wanted to do when they came to work that day. There wasn't a set job description where they have accountabilities and they have to actually do that. They all get to just do whatever they want. That company is not going to last very long. And so it's the same thing with your dollars. You have to give all of your dollars a job. And it's important to have a good set of tools to do that with. I personally use a program called YNAB. It stands for You Need a Budget. It's only $5 a month. And there's a couple free ones. Every dollar is a free one. Mint is one. People always ask me, why do you like YNAB over Mint? Mint was always really good at telling me how horrible I was at sticking to last month's budget. Whereas the YNAB tool, you can actually, while you create your monthly budget, while you're at the grocery store, you can add your $80 groceries right there, and it takes it out of the balance that you have left in real time. And so just a tool that helps, that you're going to use, and that helps you make decisions with your money rather than just telling you what you did spend.
Talk about your car expense, man.
The car expense?
You had a problem with the car, and you had a certain amount of money set aside for car repairs.
Oh yeah, I'll get to that. So again, naming every dollar, and also just knowing what kind of categories you want to have in your budget. Because what we find is you first do a budget and you think you're spending X dollars on restaurants or X dollars on clothes, and you're way off. So it's going to take 3 to 4 months of diligently, once, even twice a month in the first couple months of doing it, getting it wrong, and adjusting it. And so make sure you're okay with rolling with the punches. But some categories to consider are, if you have debt, put that at the top, and then charitable contributions and tithing. So hopefully One Life Fully Lived is in that budget item. monthly bills, so then those are kind of recurring all the time. And what I like to do is once you get a little bit of a history of your budget, because PG&E, or I guess where I live it's PG&E, but your electric bill, your gas bill ebbs and flows based on the time of year. If you take the average of the last 12 months and then just total that up, divide by 12, and just put that in your budget every month, then it'll carry forward and ebb and flow. That way there's no surprises when it spikes up in the summer, or gas goes up in the winter, electric in the summer, all around. Then you get your everyday expenses, your groceries, restaurants, clothing. These are kind of the ones that you actually have the most control over. If you need to change up your budget to bust the dynamite out of paying out of debt. Then you've got savings goals, so that'd be if you've got kids, saving for college, an emergency fund, and then if you're saving for an annual vacation, you want to have that set aside. And then the last category is rainy day funds, and this is what he was talking about with the car. And so with a rainy day fund, kind of similar to the utilities where you figure out what you're going to need for the year and then allocate that each month, this would be for items that are going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So car repairs, Christmas, if it's on the same day every year. Birthdays, they're on the same day every year, and somehow they surprise people when it comes to the budget. So on a Christmas gifts or birthday gifts, for example, if you know you're going to spend $1,000 on Christmas, divide that by 12, and every month put $83 to your budget line item. And then when it comes to October, November, your holiday season's budgeted for, and you start just slowly accumulating that money in your account. And then you get to actually enjoy that time of year and not stress about coming up with the money for it. Yeah.
I kind of believe in stacking, like, putting one pot on top of the eye of the stove and another pot on top of that. So, for this Christmas fund, are there any vehicles you can actually give us as accounting techniques, life insurance, whole life insurance, other vehicles that we can benefit from, still have that savings, but instead of distribution, you're doing it as a short-term loan against this system?
I mean, with these kind of examples, it's really stuff that's going to come up. Like, you don't know when. I mean, Christmas, yes, you know that it's coming the 25th.
The money be in a 401k that you can borrow? Should it be in an annuity? Should it be in a life insurance?
I mean, for the vast majority of people, just the amount they're going to spend on just using Christmas gifts as an example, the amount you need I would say just keep it in cash, because it's really just about the cash budget than it is about the using your Christmas fund as an investment vehicle. I would set aside savings money and investment money for that personally. And the same thing with like car repairs. You don't know when you're going to need it. Having to go, if you suddenly need to get new tires, having to go and pull that money from a 401k while you also need new tires is probably not the purpose of those dollars. I would keep it more in cash. But what's really nice about setting aside $100 a month or $200 a month to something like car repairs is, for most people who are kind of living paycheck to paycheck, when their car breaks down, it's not just the stress of fixing your car, it's a financial stress too. And it's amazing once you have a little padding and you've set aside this money in 6 months in advance and you have that car breakdown, you start to feel stressed about money, and then you realize you've already got it set aside, and that feeling is just amazing. So really just kind of come up with whatever that monthly number needs to be and set it aside each month. And it's really easy to want to pull from those, but you just can't. You got to set it aside and just build it up, because it's not a matter of if on these things, it's a matter of when. I even do it so like Amazon Prime comes out, they charge you once a year. So we put $8 a month Amazon Prime dues, and it just rules. And for those of you who has you have self-employed people, anyone else like work on commissions or irregular income, So if you've got a regular income, it's kind of how do I budget on that? You know, because it's money's, I might make 10,000 this month and 1,000 next month. And so you want to look at your last 6 months, and the lowest month you had in the last 6 months is what you use as your base. And so whatever you can cover out of your monthly expenses, out of that you make that list and that priority list, and then anything. So you draw a line. Okay, this is what I'm going to cover regular monthly cash flow. And if you've got debt that you need to pay off, having an extra $400 a month, just in this example, is you're paying interest on that. So you could have that throughout the year and change your withholdings, fill out a W-4. If you go to paycheckcity.com, you can plug in your income and tell them exactly how much of a refund you want to get, and then adjust your withholdings so that you have that cash throughout the year instead of letting the IRS have fun with it. And the other side of this coin, though, is if you are naturally a spender and know yourself that you're not going to be putting aside that money to pay off debt, and then at that point it does make sense to maybe get a big refund, and you use it as a forced savings plan, and then having that discipline to, when you get the refund, put it into a retirement or some sort of investment vehicle right away. If you're self-employed, you can do a lot more with tax planning. So one of the killers of a lot of self-employed people is self-employment tax, which is your portion of Social Security and Medicare as a self-employed person. You can get rid of a lot of that by forming an S corporation, because that income isn't subject to self-employment tax, and then just paying yourself a small wage. And if that's something you want to hear more about, I'm happy to chat one-on-one after this. But and we have a 7-step tax solution that we implement for a lot of our business owner clients. And just knowing the different tax saving strategies out there can a lot of times cut your tax bill in half as a self-employed individual. So just making sure you're proactive in that. So the next is to discuss investments. I'll hand it back up to Byron.
Earlier, one of the things, if you want to become a wealthy person, is you want to start early. So I just briefly wanted to show you guys what the effect is of starting early. So in this example, I have someone starting at age 15 or starting at age 55. So I have years to 65, and this is what it takes to become a millionaire. So to accumulate $1 million, at age 15, it only takes $62 a month. Okay, and that's earning 10% on your money. At age 55, to get $1 million, you have to put away $4,200 a month. So as you can see,
What's the assumption to earn 10%? What are you guys using vehicle-wise?
We're just saying 10%.
We're just saying if you earn 10%. This is strictly a chart on if I earn 10%, you know, what would I end up with? Okay.
I think 10 is an easy number to calculate.
Yeah, math is easy. I earn 10% all the time. I make loans to a lot of people and get 10% of my money. So, anyway, this just shows you how important and critical it is to start early. And a lot of times people will start by just funding their IRAs. You know, I like the thing where if you fund your IRAs for 7 years, then the earnings from that IRA would actually pay to fund the rest of the IRAs for the rest of your life. So, I also wanted to show you the importance of getting a good earnings. How that's, a lot of people, they're good at saving the money they put away, but they don't, you have to study money to learn how to get a better rate of return. So in this example here, I have someone that's, they're saving 10% of their income, and they're earning 6% of their money. So on this one, at age 25, they'd have a savings value of $769, and they would earn $5,300 a month. That's what they would have to spend. If they, at age 50, they would only have 171 if they put 10% of their money away, and this count's getting like $1,800 of Social Security too. Okay, so but look at the difference here. If we go to 2%, that same 25-year-old now only has $320 and has $2,200 in monthly income. Look at the difference from 2 to 6%. 6% is not that difficult to get if you study money. But look at this, $3,000 a month. So you just can't take your money and stick it into the bank. What does the bank pay now? What, 0.25%? It's terrible. So you have to learn what to do with your money. Study money. Now, if we take this a little further and you can earn, oh, did I take out my 10%? Oh, here's 10%. No, I took out my 10% slide, I think. Yeah. Took out my 10% slide.
Well, we can show you in real time here if you. That's the okay. So let's see. So this is the what happened? Okay.
20 minutes.
This is the let's go over it real briefly. And this, if you have Excel, you can search retirement planner in the templates, and this is a planning tool that's on there. And so this is someone who is 30, currently makes $50,000 a year, and they're saving, let's use 10%, so $5,000 in retirement. And they're getting 2% return. So you can see they retire at 65 and they run out of money in 3 years. That's obviously not enough. And what's interesting about this is at 2%, even if they put away, even if they put away 50% of their income, so $25,000 a year, if they're only earning 2%, they'd run out of money at 81 years old, at retiring at 65. Whereas you can take this, if they're back at $5,000, so they're putting away 10%, and they get 10% of their money, then they die with $5 million in the bank. Yeah, that's not a bad way to die. That's right.
Kids are like it.
And so you can see in real time, 2% and even 6% doesn't quite get you there. But this is just someone making $50,000 a year, putting away 10%.
This tool's available in everybody's Excel spreadsheets.
See, so going from
It's really a cool little thing to play, and it's not very hard to do.
going from 6%. So when you're looking at retirement plans, different things you can change. Okay, I got to earn more on my money to 8%, or okay, maybe instead of retiring at 65, I have to work till 70, and that gets me a little more. Work till 75. Well, then, I don't really want to do that. I'm a lot better. The best thing you can do, of course, is saving money and putting money aside.
Early.
So putting money aside, so adding 10, going from 5,000 to 10,000 gives me a lot more. But the biggest thing is having that return on investment. So going from 4%, I'm running out of money right away, to 7%, and I've got it forever. So just kind of a visual representation showing you how powerful a good return is. Yeah.
I want to kind of get some answers from you guys. So I hear you say study money. Do you have any reference material, any books, any authors?
Okay, here's a book I'd read called I'm right now.
Rule 1 investing.
Rule 1 Investing. This is a book on how to invest in the stock market. Okay? And you're either probably going to pick stock market or you're going to pick real estate. And Rule 1 Investing talks about pick something that you're comfortable with. If you're a realtor or something like that, you should be invested in real estate, because then you're buying stuff wholesale, and you're not, when you buy stock market, you're buying it retail. But and Rule 1 Investing, he says pick 10 stocks. Only pick stocks that you understand. Don't invest in something you don't understand the technology or something like that. And all you do is you really watch those stocks, and you really only look at the numbers every 3 months when new statements come out. But there's an app you can get on your phone that tells you when you're supposed to buy stocks. And when they go, you do the opposite of the public. When the stocks go down, they drag everything down, you buy in. When the stocks go up, you liquidate and go to cash. And I really believe in, I was always terrible at the stock market, because I would always buy stocks. Somebody they tell you if they brag about their stock they did, so you go buy it, and they're only bragging after they made the money and the stock's overvalued. Then I buy it and then I get depressed.
So with my own asset diversification, I actually do move money into cash.
Okay.
But I recognize I might not be effective because of the current trend we're on. 2008, we were able to buy at extreme lows. Mm-hmm. So I'm liquidating at a 2000 and let's say 15 or 17 price to liquidate and then buy back in. You're not buying in at that low price point. So I just heard you sort of condone moving to cash. Can be safe, but it's also
Very few people can outpredict the stock market. even, they say only 8% of your mutual funds do better than the stock market in general. There's a book I would recommend, I'm trying to look it up right now.
Invest in real estate.
Unshakable by Tony Robbins.
That's a great book.
Phenomenal book.
That's a really good book.
He basically trashes mutual funds. He says you'll never, and your 401k is just hosing the heck out of you if you're in a public 401k. But that Unshakable by Tony Robbins is a really good book. It's really good. Rule 1 investing for the stock market. I've done really well with Rule 1 following that. But what I did is, before I bought anything, I opened an account at updown.com, which is a play stock market company. And you start with $1 million, and I practiced for a full year before I bought any stocks.
Oh wow.
And I did real good. I started $1 million, and with like 4 months, I was up to 1.3. Oh, this stuff's good. I'm good at this, you know. And then I shorted Netflix, and it went from 80 to 200. It just wiped me out. Okay. I learned a valuable lesson. Never short a good company. Because I was shorting, and when it would go up, I would short it, and then it would go down, I'd buy it back in, and I'd shorten it, buy it. And I was just dominating, and then it went through the ceiling. I lost like $500,000. So, rule 1, I'd never short a good company. But it only has you pick 10 stocks, and you follow those 10. Pick something, you know, one of the stocks I was following was Chipotle. Vistaprint was the one I made a bunch of money on, because I buy my printing from them. So, but only follow like 10 stocks, and that's how Warren Buffett does his investing.
What was it?
Rule 1 investing.
Rule 1
Phil
investing.
Town is the author on it.
No, well, you said what you can do, where you can play.
Oh yeah.
So
Updown.com.
actually, I think Updown might have just recently gone out of business,
Oh, okay.
just a couple months ago.
Free, so maybe
But if you just, if you search paper trading websites, and that's what it's called. Paper trading is basically the term,
couple more
yeah,
minutes.
the term for investing without actually buying stocks.
Okay, once you finish up with this, then we can go with questions.
Yeah. So, the other one of the things that I'm sure will be covered as part of this weekend is the power of goals and having written goals. So things are, I forget the exact number, 84% of all stats are made up on the spot. So 70%, goals are 70% more likely to happen if they're written down. And it's pretty close to that number. And so having a written plan for your net worth growth, both a sprint plan, which we define as what you're going to do within 1 year, and then a marathon plan, which is what you're going to do over the next 25 to 30 years, having both of those in written down is key. So an example of a sprint plan might be, okay, by next week, I'm going to write up a list of my financial goals and have a deadline on them. We're coming up towards the end of the month, so November 1st, I'm going to do my first budget meeting. December, or maybe November 15th, I'm going to review my budget and adjust. And then December 1st, have my second budget meeting. And then 3 months into it, I'm going to review my net worth, see if it's grown, and then have that series of action steps, all within a year. And then the marathon plan is where you get to dream big. During the Dream It session of like this weekend, maybe you want to have, what are your big goals that if you could make your life happen on paper, what would it look like? So I'm able to not work if I choose by 55 or 65. I'm able to work part-time by a certain age. I want to have X number of dollars in investments by what date? And so have written dates written with actual exact numbers on them. It's got to be measurable. So you've got to have a date and an exact target on that plan. Maybe you want a condo in Maui by 2025. Yes?
A couple of just industry specifics that you guys kind of do this. What's your take on this new tax code where they're trying to get rid of 1031 exchanges? You guys think that that's going to happen, not happen?
They're trying to get rid of, have you heard
I know he
that?
wants to lower the tax rates down to 50%. I think that's
15.
awesome for business owners.
I
Wage taxes won't change, just the business owner taxes. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I haven't personally heard about the getting rid of the 1031 exchanges. So couldn't tell you on that.
About more what we have to deal with right now. That's what we're saving money on.
Yeah, because Congress tends to go back and forth, and then so once it's law, then we come up with strategies to, based on that. So, and that's it. Any Further questions?
If you are particularly self-employed people that like tax tips, Tyler does almost a video every week on tax tips. And there are little things
Every
like
day.
how to write off a vacation, how to make your Halloween party deductible. You know, how to write off your car, how to take a travel, make it vacation, and make it tax deductible. So you ought to follow us
So
on Facebook.
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the,
Yeah, they're on the
yes.
card here. So if you want that.
Actually, I don't know if the YouTube channel.
Here, check this.
And so he does a really good job. We actually have a
Yeah.
full-time videographer follow him around and video his
Yep.
things.
So I've recently been kind of exposed to using Roth IRAs to save and manipulate real estate, meaning that you put all your money into a Roth, you grow it tax-free, you can borrow from that Roth, buy a house,
Okay.
flip the house, take the house money, put it back in the IRA.
Okay.
So I was thinking about actually employing my kid so that when she can get at 4 years old, $6,000 or $5,000 a year, using the rule of 72 and start doubling early. So that when she does have that ability, me at my age, I don't have so much run time to be dumping $5,000, $6,000 a year to create $30,000 to go buy a house.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about using my kid, give her some income of some sort through one of my LLCs.
Yeah, so if you pay your child who's under 18 a wage, you don't have to pay payroll tax on that income. And they can make up to $7,850 in a year and not even $7,850 now in 2017 and not have to file a tax
You
return.
have to be able to look the auditor in the eye without smiling when you tell them what they're doing for a living.
So we have a lot of clients with younger children that they hire them for their models for their company Facebook page. And so we have a client who actually has a kid model, and so we asked what do they get per shoot, and they get $500 per photo shoot. So you do 15 shoots a year, $7,500 tax free.
Right. So now that I've given that $7,500 tax free, they're eligible to participate in an IRA at that point.
Yeah, correct.
And then if I dump the max deduction of $6,000 or $5,000, that's against non-tax money, but it's growing now tax
We
free.
got time for one quick question, then we have to finish to get to the next seminar.
I was going to ask you a question about self-directed IRAs. I'm thinking about doing that.
Why don't you
but
hit me right up after the seminar, we can go over it first.
Okay. All right.
Super. Any other, I think we have to break. I want to respect everybody's time, so thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Also, to get the PowerPoint, you said
Just shoot us an email. We'll send you the PowerPoint.
How's it going?
I'm Jason, by the way.
Tyler,
If
yeah,
anybody
nice to
wants
meet
get
you.
our 7
So you're a real estate agent? So we just wrapped up our speech, had some good questions, good interaction, and hopefully educated some people on their personal finance and budgeting. Done with the conference, done speaking, now about to hop in the car up to Oregon, get some good family time with the in-laws. It's been a good weekend, good One Life weekend. We'll see you next time.
Your lemon's free and your writing grip with another left and what is right and self. Schwartz is gone.